In this video, I play as the Fisherman class. Normally, fishing rods are meant to capture fish to craft potions and food, but this mod allows you to use them to attack enemies, and I've gotta say, some of these rods are pretty interesting. So the question is, will I be able to defeat Moonlord by fishing it, or will it end up escaping my hook? Stay tuned to find out. Alright, so spawning into the world, I noticed right away that I already had a fishing rod, which was great. I thought I had to farm materials to make one, but since I don't have to anymore, I can just start killing monsters right away. In my inventory was the wooden battle rod that had 18 fishing damage. All fishing rods will have 3 main stats. Tensile strength, which is the force before the fishing rod line breaks when reeling in, and it's measured in pixels per second. There will be bobs, which is the time that passes before damage can be dealt again, and lastly there is reel speed, which is how fast I'll be able to drag enemies towards me and vice versa. Yes, some enemies can't be reeled in, so it actually reels you towards them. After chopping down some trees, I tested the rod on a slime. I thought dragging in enemies was pretty cool, but I don't really see why I would want enemies closer to me. I went to the desert on my left and saw an antlion. I hooked onto it to see if I could drag it through the sand, and it surprisingly worked. Going down the underground desert, I found my first life crystal along with Hermes boots inside a gold chest. I kept exploring and found 2 more life crystals, but a dune splicer ended up killing me. After respawning, I built a box to keep myself safe. I noticed that with 8 cobwebs, I was able to craft the discardable bobbers that allows me to recast my line very fast if I retrieved it from an enemy. Since I had a lot of cobwebs, I decided to craft it. An example would be if I hooked onto the wrong enemy, I can reel it back in very fast to hook onto another enemy. After waiting until day arrived, I traveled left and found a cave. I did a bit of mining and found the magic mirror and the suspicious looking eye inside a gold chest. Now with more materials, I crafted 2 accessories. The wooden fishing knife that automatically attacks enemies who are in close proximity of me, and if my bobber is on the exact same enemy, it'll deal double the damage. I also crafted the sinker, so instead of my bobber floating on top of water, it'll sink down to hook onto monsters. Now it's time to replace my wooden battle rod with the silver battle rod. It has 28 damage, which is 10 more than my old one, so it's a pretty decent upgrade. Lastly, I made the silver pickaxe to speed up mining a bit. I went back underground and found some platinum bars. With these bars, I made the platinum battle rod that has 38 fishing damage and the platinum pickaxe along with some silver armor. It's almost time for me to take on my first boss, but I wanted a bit more health, so I went down the jungle and found life crystals to bring my health up to 260. When I arrived, I built some platforms and summoned the Eye of Cthulhu. Because the fishing rod focuses on attacking single targets, I wasn't able to attack the servants and the boss at the same time efficiently. If I'm focusing on the boss, then the servants will start to accumulate. But then I remembered that I had the fishing knife accessory that deals damage to nearby enemies, so to clear off the servants, I had to throw myself onto them. After defeating the Eye of Cthulhu, it dropped the Shield of Cthulhu and the Eye of Cthulhu booster. These boosters will make it so that I'm unable to drink any potions, but will give me special stats. Afterwards, I went to find life crystals until I reached max health. Returning home, I crafted the Jungle Battle Rod that has 48 damage and can also poison enemies along with the slow metronome. This accessory boosts my fishing damage by 10%, but decreases my bob speed by 5%. And now it's time for my second boss fight, the King Slime. Nothing too hard about this fight. What I did like though was how my bobber stayed attached on the King Slime even when it teleports. After killing the King Slime just once, I was able to get my hands on the slime mount. This mod also adds new armor sets. The armor set that I made to replace my silver armor was the Star Mix armor, and it's crafted with star mix made from fallen stars and gel, as well as having enough tin, iron, silver, and platinum for all 4 armor sets. This armor set increases bob speed by 15%, fishing damage by 10%, and best of all, the value of defense that the armor gives will be doubled as soon as I hit hard mode. There's also another fishing rod that's specifically designed to go against bosses, which is the Star Mix Battle Rod. Against bosses, this weapon will deal double the damage. Before I head over to take on the Brain of Cthulhu, I had 2 hooks that were dropped from piranhas when I was in the jungle. I used these hooks to make 2 extra lures, which means that I'll be able to throw out 3 lines at once. But here's the problem. Having multiple lines divides the damage by how many you're able to send out. Since I can send out 3 lines, it'll divide the damage that each bob can deal by 3. I really wasn't a fan of this. If the damage stayed the same throughout each bob, then it would have been really good. I did use this accessory for a bit, but later in the game I swapped it out for something else. I made my way to the Crimson to then summon the Brain of Cthulhu. After killing the Brain of Cthulhu, I made the Crimson Battle Rod that has a bit of lifesteal and the Deathbringer pickaxe and mined all the way to Hell. Once I was there, I mined some Hellstone to then make the Hellstone Battle Rod that has 81 fishing damage that can set enemies on fire, and the Molten Pickaxe. I built an arena at the dungeon, waited until night, and then summoned Skeletron, since I'll be needing a weapon from inside to craft a rod that's equivalent to the Knight's Edge. Because the Hellstone Battle Rod has such a high damage, I aimed directly at the head rather than killing the hands first, but of course doing so made me have to be cautious of its hand throughout the entire fight. After killing Skeletron, I opened some chests in the dungeon and got the Cobalt Shield and the Dungeon Battle Rod. I didn't know what it did until after searching it up, but apparently it acts as a water candle to increase enemy spawn rate. Having all 4 rods, I combined them to craft the Edge Battle Rod. This weapon has a massive 124 damage. When I went back home, I was greeted with the Goblin Army, which was perfect. I wanted to combine some of my accessories together before I fight the Wall of Flesh. After defeating the army, I found the Goblin Tinkerer and purchased the Rocket Boots and Workshop from him. I thought I had more accessories to combine, but I ended up only making Lightning Boots. Afterwards, I went back to Hell and built a long platform, but before I fight the boss, I converted my double lure to the Double Bob Loser. This will remove 2 bobs, which limits my fishing rod to 1 bob, so I can focus more on single target damage. I went down to Hell and then summoned the boss. I threw out my fishing line before the Hungry spawned so I can directly hook onto the boss itself. The fight was going really well, but I made a mistake by dashing with the Shield of Cthulhu, causing me to get knocked back into the boss, so I ended up dying. I summoned the boss again, but this time I tried something different. I noticed that whenever I reel in with my fishing line, the frequency of dealing hits was much faster, but the Wall of Flesh couldn't be moved, so it would pull me towards it. To counter this, I hooked behind blocks to become immobile. After defeating the Wall of Flesh, I'm now in hard mode, and since I'm in hard mode, my defense of the armor set is now doubled. I broke Crimson Altars and mined a bunch of Palladium, Orichalcum, and Adamantite. I needed enough of these ores for the full armor sets in order to craft the next armor set, which was the Evil Blood set. This also meant I needed more tissue samples from the Brain of Cthulhu, so I killed the boss a few more times to then craft the armor. The armor set effect gives my fishing knife accessory double damage at double the range. I also crafted the Evil Rod of Blood that's like the Crimson Battle Rod, but it provides better lifesteal. I then went up to the sky to kill wyverns for Souls of Flight. And while fighting these things, I noticed that if I land my bob on its head, I can pull the entire body towards me. But if I hook onto its body, then it ends up being kinda glitchy where I only pull half of its body. After I got enough materials, I crafted demon wings, and I pretty much had everything I needed to take on mechanical bosses. So I began with the twins first. During the fight, I realized just how strong the Evil Rod of Blood was. I was healing for over 20 health per hit, which is a lot, I won't lie, so it made dying really hard. Like I said before, since rods are more focused on single targets, it made this fight quite easy. Having switched to only one line, I was able to deal around 200 damage per hit and around 400 damage if it's a critical hit. After the twins, I summoned Skeletron Prime. As soon as I saw the boss, I noticed it had 2 heads. Now, I'm not really sure if it's meant to be like this because of the mod or if it was just a bug, but I ignored it and continued with the fight. After defeating Skeletron Prime, it was now time for the last mech boss, the Destroyer. This boss took the longest because of the amount of health it had, plus I was only able to hit a single body part at a time. I landed my hook onto the head of the boss, so just like the wyvern, I was able to drag the entire boss towards me, meaning that the boss will never be able to hit me, as long as I don't pull it all the way to my body. After bringing the boss to about 40% health, my game literally crashed. It might have been due to me tugging on the boss so many times and making it move all weird, but thankfully my game had autosave on. So honestly, it wasn't that big of a deal. I just had to resummon it. This time though, I decided not to pull on it so often. After defeating the Destroyer, I crafted the Hollowed Battle Rod. That says it's super effective against bosses, so I assumed it was like the Star Mix Battle Rod but better. If the Star Mix Rod doubles the damage against bosses, I wondered if the Hollowed Rod would be tripled the damage. I also crafted the Pickaxe Axe. I made my way to the jungle to mine Chlorophyte. With some of the Chlorophyte, I crafted the Chlorophyte Battle Rod. This rod supposedly spreads spores when idle, but when I tried it out on a dummy, it did absolutely nothing. I also upgraded my slow metronome to the super slow metronome, and then finally to the hyper slow metronome. This increases my fishing damage by 30%, which is actually huge, but decreases my bob speed by 20%. After finding the Plantera bulb, I made an arena and then broke the bulb to begin the fight. I didn't make the arena too big because I didn't think it was necessary because of the weapons I had. A rod with insane lifesteal and a rod that is super effective against bosses. I mainly used the hollowed rod, and man, this thing dealt over 1000 damage per hit if it was a critical strike, so taking down Plantera was extremely fast. After I defeated Plantera, I started building a mushroom biome that's needed to craft the next armor set. As I was building the biome, a solar eclipse began. This was the perfect opportunity to gather broken hero swords to craft the Terra battle rod. After killing Mothilons for the swords, I combined them with the edge battle rod and hollowed battle rod to make the Terra battle rod. This rod had 666 damage, the devil's number, that can shoot out blades. With this weapon, I made my way into the temple to summon golems, and this boss died in a matter of seconds. After defeating Golem, I went into the dungeon to farm ectoplasm. This will also be used to craft the next armor set. The truffle spawned, so I purchased the auto hammer from it, since I'll be making shumite bars. Now, for the next, I'd say 4 to 5 hours, I grinded an insane amount of souls of light, night, flight, sight, fright, and might, chlorophyte, shroomite, and specter bars, glowing mushrooms included, all to make the Life Force armor set. And as soon as I hovered over to see what the set effect does, I realized the amount of time wasted to craft this armor. I spent so long gathering all these materials only to find out that the set effect wasn't even that good. Matter of fact, I'd consider it to be complete garbage. It adds 50 max health and mana, which is like nothing. The ninja dodge effect, but I already have the black belt from killing Bone Lees in the dungeon. 5% dodge chance, that's literally the black belt. Produces a glowing light. Yeah, wow, that's gonna be so useful in this stage of the game. And truffle worms that won't be able to flee from me. Like, what even is that? No one wants that in an armor set that literally took 5 hours to make. But yeah, it's all said and done now, and I can't get back the time stolen from me. It's called Life Force for a reason, because it literally sucks the life out of you. Anyway, enough shaming the armor. After making the armor, I went to the dungeon to summon the lunatic cultist. And this boss also died in mere seconds, just like Golem. Now for the next painful part, killing the celestial beings one at a time. 600 in total. After destroying the Solar, Vortex, Stardust, and Nebula Pillar, it's finally now time to fight Moonlord. After defeating Moonlord, I got Luminite to craft the Solar Battle Rod that had 1106 damage. I used it to fight Moonlord one more time and it obliterated the boss. Alright, that's gonna be it guys. That was the Fisherman class. Honestly, I enjoyed the playthrough with this class. The idea of being able to hook onto enemies with a fishing rod was pretty cool, but man, I still can't get over the process of making the Life Force armor. But anyways, hope you all enjoyed watching. If you did, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and also subscribe to the channel. Thanks everyone, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.